Hey everybody, welcome to Fast Football Talk. I hope that you guys are having a good day, and I hope that we can make it even better because today we are going to be discussing and breaking down my top 3 favorite draft classes by team in this year's draft. Without any further ado, let's hop in. The first draft class we'll be looking at today will be our honorable mention, the Denver Broncos. I won't get into much detail here. If you want an in-depth look at every pick, check out my full Broncos class breakdown after this video. The Broncos loaded their class with offensive weapons to surround Drew Lock, including 2 great picks at receiver in KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy. Adding speed to the offensive side of the ball was a clear focus, and all the weapons taken contributed towards giving Lock as many diverse weapons to work with in different parts of the field. Later in the class, the Broncos took different shots at the offensive line to fill holes, while adding more depth to the defense in multiple positions. Overall, the Broncos had a great draft that would have cracked the top 3 on this list had I not already gone into so much detail on it in the previous video.
Perfect.
The Buffalo Bills are coming in as my 3rd favorite draft class this year. Their first pick in the draft was edge rusher AJ Epineza in the 2nd round. And talk about a steal for the Bills here. Epineza is a player that I would have taken in the mid to late 1st round and did in my mock draft. As a player, he already comes into the league with a really polished pass rushing skill set, although he does lack some of the athletic upside required to become an elite edge presence. Still, Epineza will step in and instantly provide a solid run defending option and pass rushing presence on the edge, exactly like Shaq Lawson, who they lost in free agency to the Dolphins. Then in the 3rd round, they grabbed running back Zach Moss out of Utah. Another great selection here. Moss is a bigger body back who I think will pair really nicely with the smaller Singletary. Singletary was good as a rookie last year, but he's not a guy who this team wants to carry an entire load. And quite frankly, this team is too smart at team building to subscribe their players to the outdated role of a workhorse back. So Moss and Singletary here will make quite the combo, especially paired with this quite beefy defense. In the next round, they then took a shot at receiver with Gabriel Davis from UCF. I like their later pick at receiver better, but this one's okay, and I see the reasoning behind the pick. In the 5th round, the Bills grabbed Jake Fromm. And it acted like they couldn't make this draft any better. I really like this Fromm pick here. First of all, I thought he would have gone much higher than this, so they really got an excellent value here. Fromm was a player that I was comfortable taking at the end of the 1st, and that's what I did in my own mock draft of the Patriots. But more importantly, I really like how Fromm meshes with Josh Allen and the rest of this team. Allen took a big step forward in 2019, but he still has big holes in his game in terms of poor decision making and accuracy issues that have plagued him since his time at Wyoming. If Allen craps the bed next year and this otherwise stacked roster starts to underperform their potential as true AFC East contenders, then I think Fromm is an excellent choice as a backup who can be that incredibly safe game managing quarterback who can play really well with this great surrounding core. For me, the Fromm selection was a no-brainer, and it gives the Bills almost a safety net if Allen regresses in year 3. The Bills then followed Fromm up by taking a kicker. Okay, sure, you didn't come here for kicker analysis. Then in the 6th, they grabbed a receiver, Isaiah Hodgins, for a pick that I really liked. I don't know how Isaiah Hodgins slipped all the way to the 6th round, but he's going to give that Bills that large-bodied outside presence that I think this team is missing right now. They seem to have every other receiver type except for a bigger ball skills kind of guy, so I really like this pick for them. And then finally, they finished up by taking a shot at corner with Dane Jackson. I really like this Bills draft class. They grabbed a couple starters who can immediately contribute for this team and grab depth at positions of need. And finally, they took a wise safety net quarterback for an erratic Josh Allen. I think that this was a really great draft that should cement them as favorites to win the AFC East this year.
Perfect.
My second favorite draft class this year belongs to the Indianapolis Colts. With the 2nd pick in the 2nd round, the Colts took receiver Michael Pittman out of USC. I really like this pick here for the Colts. He's a bigger bodied receiver with excellent catchability and ball skills. The Colts really needed that receiver opposite Hilton, and I think that Pittman is a great complementary skill set for him. Receivers also did really good things with Mike Williams, who the Chargers drafted several years ago within the top 10. His skill set is very similar to Pittman's, and I think that you can expect to see similar results in Indy with Rivers as the quarterback now. I thought that this was a great pick that really rounded out the Colts receiving core. Just a couple picks later, the Colts selected running back out of Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor. Taylor is a bigger-bodied back that still has great burst and will immediately contribute to this run game in a way similar to a Zeke or a Nick Chubb. To me, Taylor is a guy who can fall forward for 4 to 6 yards every time he gets the ball and can take a long run to the house every so often when this elite offensive line opens up a large hole. I think that Taylor is the better running back here, and he should end up succeeding Marlon Mack as the number 1 back within that committee before long. Moving on to the 3rd round, they selected safety Julian Blackmon out of Utah. In the middle of the 3rd, they got a good value on a safety with some of the best free safety tools and skills in the draft. Blackmon has very good range to cover a deep half of the field and great ball skills and playmaking instincts that led to numerous big plays at Utah. Blackmon will be a good scheme fit in Indy as he'll fit perfectly within the 2 high safety coverage that they like to run with Willis and Hooker. Not to mention that Hooker has been very injury prone throughout his career, which will probably end up pushing Blackmon into a starting role at some point this year. Then in the 4th round, the Colts took quarterback Jacob Eason out of Washington. This was another late round quarterback selection that I really liked. Phillip Rivers is obviously not their long-term solution at quarterback. He was clearly brought in just for this year's playoff run. I like taking the high upside strong-armed Eason to sit behind Rivers for a while before this team is ready to see what they have in him. I also like the pairing here with Jacoby Brissett, who can act as that bridge quarterback or safer backup option if need be for the team. I really just like how they combine Brissett and Eason together, as now they have a safer quarterback and that high upside strong-armed quarterback. The remaining picks in this draft I saw as non-contributors in 2020, but solid depth and future upside options. In the sixth, guard Danny Pinter out of Ball State was taken for depth along an already incredible interior line. Interior defensive lineman Robert Windsor was taken as a raw and high upside interior pass rusher. The Colts finished the 6th round by taking 3 mainly depth or special team value players with cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, wide receiver Desmond Patman, and linebacker Jordan Glasgow. Overall, I think that the Colts put together a great draft class that gives Rivers plenty of weapons to work with within that offense and a potential high upside future at the quarterback position.
Perfect.
The Baltimore Ravens by far put together my favorite draft class this year. Their draft was absolutely insane. This type of draft dominance should be banned in the NFL because other teams need a chance to compete. I mean, this is the type of draft class that keeps a team within Super Bowl contention for the next several years at least. With their 1st round pick, the Ravens selected Patrick Queen, and holy cow, what a pick this is. I had actually mocked this pick to the Ravens, explaining why I thought it was such a perfect fit, but I did not expect Queen to fall all the way to number 28 overall on draft night. Queen will be an instant starter on this team, who I believe will know exactly how to use him to get insane production from him just in his rookie year. Moving on to their next pick, the Ravens selected running back J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State. Another slam dunk pick for the Ravens. Similarly to the other 2 running backs we've already discussed today, Dobbins is an extremely stout and tough downhill runner who can burst with acceleration through gaps and always finds a way to fall forward for extra yardage. The Ravens grabbed a perfect scheme fit here for their running attack, who will add to the already aggressive runners Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards. It would totally not surprise me if Dobbins had the best success in Baltimore than any other back in this class in a couple years' time. And then, as if the Ravens didn't already win just on their first 2 picks alone, they grabbed interior defensive lineman Justin Mataboike in the 3rd round. Mataboike was one of the best interior power rushers in this class and is an absolute steal in the 3rd round. He's going to be the future interior pass rusher for this team, with now all of their starting interior D linemen being over the age of 30. With their next pick in the 3rd round, the Ravens selected slot receiver out of Texas, Devin Duvernay. Duvernay gives this team an instant difference maker in the slot, and he's probably the 2nd best slot receiver in this class behind Justin Jefferson. This team has made it clear that they want to attack the middle of the field in the passing game, and Duvernay is a dangerous weapon that I expect the passing game to flow through. All of a sudden now, this receiving core is starting to look a whole lot better, with Hollywood Brown on the outside for when Lamar wants to wind up a deep shot, and Duvernay and Andrews in the middle. But it gets crazier because the Ravens don't stop there. They then grab Malik Harrison, linebacker from Ohio State, with their next pick. And Harrison is literally the perfect pairing with Queen, as their strengths and weaknesses complement each other perfectly. Harrison is a big linebacker who loves to crash downhill and blow up the ball carrier. He'll be a great fit with the fluid, rangy Queen, and both of them are going to be instant complementary starters for this team. I wouldn't be surprised if you see this duo of rookies become one of the best linebacker cores in the league next year. For their next two picks, the Ravens went along the offensive line by grabbing Tyree Phillips and Ben Bredesen, who are both developmental pieces to add to an offensive line that could use some help on the interior after Yonda's retirement. In the 5th round, the team grabbed defensive lineman Broderick Washington Jr., who gives this team some run gap filling youth for the future. In the 6th, the Ravens grabbed receiver James Prochet, who will be a depth receiver that can work the middle of the field. And with their last pick in the 7th round, the Ravens again struck gold by taking Geno Stone, safety out of Iowa. This is another absolute steal of a pick. Stone is a great physical safety who lacks some range but was asked to play a lot of free safety in college. Harbaugh here gets an excellent role player that he can stick in the box for certain packages and will get great returns from. This is a home run pick that I think is going to surprise a lot of people for being a 7th rounder. The Ravens absolutely crushed this draft. They got value steals and perfect scheme fits all up and down the draft board, and I think that in a couple years' time, this draft class will be remembered and ranked as among some of the best in the history of the NFL. And we're back. Well, guys, that's going to do it for today. Those were my 3 favorite classes in the draft. Do be sure to chime in the comments with which classes were your favorite in this draft, and be sure to be on the lookout for my least favorite classes, which should be dropping sometime this week. I do want to sincerely thank you guys for tuning in to Fast Football Talk and enjoying the content. With all that out of the way, this is Fast, signing off with a Mile High salute.
She said she too young, don't want no man, so she gon' call her friends, now that's a plan. I just ordered sushi from